And away we go. Same old, same old. See what me and the lads in our group chat have sent that we've seen on our pipelines. What information, want a reaction out of us, which is working to some extent. So yeah, let's see what we got. So Eric sent the following. I found this political party account a couple days ago. The name sounds alarming, and I'm pretty sure the founder of it identifies as lesbian. But other than that, I've watched some videos from her main campaign account, and what she says isn't so bad. And he sent a Instagram account link to the name of the account, naming Progressive Party _USA. The bio of that Instagram account reads, dedicated to making life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness available to anyone. No, to everyone. Our DMs are open. And just scrolling through this account, there is one face that I seem to recognize. Let's see if oh, there she is. So, I too. Hold on a second. So yeah, I recognize that face, and I've also remember seeing that woman talking about that political party quite a while ago. Honestly, I'm not gonna say that this party has a chance to rivaling the Democrats or the Republicans. I will say that this progressive party in the United States does have a chance to get into local power, municipalities, and maybe to some extent the governorship in one of the 50 U.S. states. That's where I see it in the next few years. I don't have anything else to add. I see potential in that party. Not much, but it is, however, going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more options for people to go beyond the two options that already exist. The question is, how is this going to shake up how things operate and work in the United States? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and find out. Eric also texted, apparently you can apply to run for office wherever you're located at. Located. At least that's where that's what I got it from. That's what I got from it. And I had no idea that was possible. Yeah, there we go. That's yeah, wherever you are located, any country apparently, you can run for office. Prefer mostly local office. It's a different story if you're running for national, federal level positions. I'd assume there's a lot more requirements at a national level. Locally, yeah, I don't see if there is any strict eligibility criteria in any country for people to meet in order for them to run for local office. I know there's a lot of things to meet before running for national office. Local, it varies if there is any. If not, then yeah, I don't see why not. It's not that local municipalities or districts are desperate for anyone to be in a position. It's down to the fact that, well, the pool is small, and if there's not many people, what is there to bureaucrat or govern, or even observe and spectate? That's on my part. That's what I know. Eric sent a Twitter X post by the account Raindrops Media at Raindrops Media 1. The caption reads, McDonald's CEO Chris Kempczinski goes viral after seeming reluctant to eat his own burgers. He takes a tiny bite, looks uncomfortable, and calls the food, quote, product. There's a picture of the CEO himself. The text within that screenshot reads, McDonald's CEO tries the big arch trademark. Chris K here, quotation, comma. And in the picture in question shows Chris Kempczinski trying out the McDonald's food. Well, he's the CEO of McDonald's, so it just makes sense to see what he thinks of his own food. And Eric responded to that post directly saying, moment the video cut. If he doesn't want to eat his own product, I'm not gonna eat it. And that is a good point. Why would you try or eat something if the people on top running said business aren't going to try those products or services themselves? And that's my rule for trying out new products or services. If the people that's running or working in the said business providing said product or service, they don't try them themselves or use it themselves on a daily basis, who's to say this is worth using as a regular everyday consumer? Or if someone that has no idea what that product is or what the company in question is about. So yeah, in my opinion, just makes a lot of sense. If not many people are using any products or services, especially their own people, their own employees, well, why bother? Why bother, man? Eric Taylor sent another Twitter X post by the account Globe Observer @_Globe Observer. The caption reads, "Breaking unconfirmed reports are circulating that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has been killed in an Iranian attack." And then the picture in that post shows a picture of none other than Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. Eric did not respond or didn't have anything to say in regards to that post. He just shared it. It's been a few days since that post came out. I can tell you right now, Netanyahu is not dead. He is still alive. So I don't know, whoever this person is trying to say, oh, Netanyahu's dead. Of course, this is unconfirmed report, and I haven't heard any journalists, or even other news outlets saying that this is the case. So, it is always worth checking that whatever you're reading, there is other people saying or adding on to the story in question, not just someone trying to post something for the sake of getting engagement. Those are called cloud chasers, and I know what a cloud chaser is. I know it way too much. Dang, way too much. So yeah. So Benjamin Netanyahu is not dead. He's still alive. That doesn't make things well. Anyway, I'm not. I would say bugger. Forgot what I was going to say. I'm not scared or anything, or trying to back myself out of anything. I actually forgot what I was going to say. No, it'll come back to me eventually. I've already said it. The post Eric shared, Netanyahu is supposedly killed in an attack by Iran. Apparently that's not true. I haven't heard any reports from other outlets or journalists. It's safe to say at this point that that post in question is a load of baloney. And I'm not going to jump to conclusions say Globe Observer should not be trusted. This was at the time not many people are certain if this was even true to begin with. Given a few days after that, as of this recording, it's been a few days since that post has been posted. A lot of people know by now that Benjamin Netanyahu is still alive and just doing what he's doing as Prime Minister of Israel. Next, Eric Taylor sent another Twitter X post by the account Say Cheese @SayCheese DGTL. The caption reads, YouTube co-founder says 2026 will be the quote-unquote last year humans do meaningful work. Many believe this a warning about our future. And he's right. They're right. This could be a warning. Then again, AI as it stands now, it's not the best. It's pretty impressive from a human perspective. Could it do any job well enough to replace us in every aspect in our day-to-day lives? No, not at the moment. Certainly not now, or in the next few years. Give it a few years, and eventually, maybe, it could be possible. Other than that, even if AI as it stands now has the capabilities, the brain power, the processing capabilities, there's always going to be things that AI is going to be asking us humans to do for them. Likewise, I think I said this a couple episodes ago on a different podcast. There's this website called rentahuman.ai, or at least rentahuman, where AI agents can, like the name suggests, you can rent a human to do tasks for them for a price. And that price is cryptocurrencies. I'm not sure if you can also connect your fiat banking account on Rent a Human platform. For now, you just connect your cryptocurrency wallets, so AI agents can pay you crypto and use that crypto for whatever you like. Or if it's possible, maybe there are some platforms that do that, but not every platform. You could convert the crypto into fiat money, like British pounds, US dollars, Chinese yuan, Japanese yen, the South African rand, the euro, whatever currency applies to your country in origin. So yeah, that's something. It's not much. It at least gives us closure, knowing that no matter how advanced AI gets, there's always going to be jobs and objectives that only humans can do, AI agents cannot. So that's something, at least from my perspective. And as of the last time I recorded this episode, no, not this episode, the last time I recorded a podcast episode, I sent the lads a news story, which I've read in full on a previous podcast episode on a different podcast to this one, if ever. The headline reads, Viral phenomenon in Argentina has young people identifying themselves as animals. When I first read that headline, I was laughing my arse off. I wasn't laughing hysterically, but it had a chuckle a little bit out of it. And then once I got into the details, I was like, what the fudge was I thinking? I mean, we all make mistakes, and in this case specifically, we don't know much of the story unless we get into the details, which I had in the previous podcast episode I recorded. And reading the details, and I'll be brief with this. This is something seen online on TikTok or other social media platforms, and this is not some kind of cultural or social event in Argentina. This is something that has sparked interest from psychologists within Buenos Aires, and they brought up concerns regarding the pathological harm, not just to themselves, also to others, and also concern amongst the parents about how much damage or what other potential concerns there might be for people that were involved in this viral phenomenon within Argentina. And I say that's a good point. I have nothing against people committing to their interests or hobbies. I'm all for being individual, expressing yourself however you want to express yourself. We do have to ask if there is an objective to this phenomenon, this viral event in Argentina. Is this something that was organized beforehand? Is this an event that would occur every single year, or how often it gets hosted or taken place, or whatever these people are? Whoever these people were trying to organize this event, were they trying to get a reaction out of people to the point news stories were written about them? If the latter was the case, then it absolutely worked. Everyone is talking about it. So much to the point that even psychological experts are even talking about the concerns that this event might have on one's capacity amongst the brain. So yeah, that was quite the story that I'm wondering what the lads will say, and they haven't responded to that. Don't blame them. I wouldn't be surprised if they had something to say. I'd assume they would. So that's just me. So that is the stories thus far. Or at least, no, actually, that's all the stuff in the group chat that me and the lads have sent to each other to see what we think of whatever's going on. Or at least what is in our pipelines that sparked our interest somehow. Not that we agree with these people. It sparks an interest to some extent. Very effectively so, I add. So, with all that being said, let's get into the rest of the news. Workers in Kenya review Meta smart glasses uses intimate footage. Last week, Svenska Dagbladet and Göteborgs-Posten reported that video from Meta's Ray-Ban AI glasses is routed to human data annotators in Nairobi, Kenya for review. Because Meta's models depend on human annotation, users who enable Meta AI agree to terms allowing human reviewers to access footage, though terms of service and privacy policy Meta remain vague on details. Workers in Nairobi described seeing clips of bathroom visits, undressing, sex, and bank cards, feeling pressured to annotate or lose their jobs. Meta told reporters that, despite GDPR rules, it referred questions to its Meta AI terms of service and privacy policy after delayed replies, with Ray-Ban AI glasses sales reaching over 2 million in recent years. Once data enter training systems, users lose control over their data. Data protection lawyer Clancy Sardelli warned, while wearable AI raises offshore moderation and labor concerns in data labeling processes. So in short, whatever footage you were recording with your Meta Ray-Ban AI glasses, there are human reviewers somewhere in Kenya, and from what I just read, the works in question are expected to annotate a lot of things, if not everything, even if there are details or very explicit imagery that should not be annotated to begin with. Yet they do it anyway. That is going to be quite the messy courtroom drama if this ever goes to court. And it will go to court. Whatever's going to happen, this is going to be messy. Meta has a lot of questions to answer, and it won't be pretty. Oh no, 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 no. Meta has been hot water many times before. No water is hotter than this. That's for sure. No water is hotter than this. This will be one of the biggest tests yet for Meta. Not just how to handle with data collection, even the most personal of information amongst users, also the reviewing process, which in itself is just as complicated than anything else I just described earlier. If any, if a majority of the world that uses AI Meta Ray-Ban glasses found out about this, they would have stopped using those glasses ages ago. They would have just returned them immediately. I want a refund, they say. Get the money back, if there's a refund policy, that is. I doubt there would. But that's just me. I don't know much about refunds, because I don't buy much stuff to begin with. Alright. Moving on. Actually, no. One more thing to add. If Meta... Actually, no. I was going to say, if Meta cared about the protection of people's data, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, here we are. It happened. And if this ever gets to the court, in one of the courtrooms, in somewhere in the world, the Meta is up for quite the ride. It just comes to show that no matter how much controversy a company or organization gets, so long as they're making bank, they don't give a damn. And Meta is no different. They're a big company. They don't give a damn about the controversy, so long as they're allowing their operations to continue and they're making bank in every way possible. F1 driver Charles Leclerc marries model Alexandra Saint-Bleu in Monaco. F1 driver Charles Leclerc married model Alexandra Saint-Bleu in Monaco on February 28, 2026. The newlyweds drove off in a vintage red Ferrari convertible after the ceremony, with Bleu wearing an elegant white silk gown and oval diamond engagement ring. Footage showed the couple being followed by motorcycles and a Mercedes as they went for a drive in the 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa valued at £9 million. That makes so much sense. Being a Formula One driver for the Ferrari Formula One team, it makes so much sense that the car that Charles Leclerc and his newlywed wife would be riding in is a Ferrari. It makes so much sense. I don't see why you would be in anything else. It could be, given his image attachment to Ferrari, the Formula One team. It'd be hard to people not won't be sure what to think of Charles Leclerc in any car besides a Ferrari. Again, it is possible that he could be in any vehicle besides a Ferrari. Anyway, the point I'm making is he's a very well-known Formula One driver for the Ferrari team, and for him to ride in a Ferrari with his new wife, fair enough. So what? It's so on brand, very very on brand. And as for the newlyweds, very happy for them. Hopefully they enjoy the rest of their lives, and at some point, not saying they should, if they want to, that's okay. Maybe start a family. Again, it's down to them if they want to do that. What's important is they enjoy their lives being married. And hopefully there aren't any issues that will come about. I hope not. And I'm not saying there should be. Anyway, I'm saying a lot of things. So, congratulations, Charles Leclerc, on your marriage to Alexandra. And yeah, I hope you two have a very happy life together. Scotland becomes first UK country to allow water cremations. Pardon? What is a water cremation? That's the first time I'm hearing of this. From March 2nd, Scotland has legalised water cremation after the Scottish Parliament approved regulations introduced by the Scottish Government. The 2023 public consultation found 84% support of hydrolysis, and officials said this adds the first new funeral option in over 120 years after its UK prohibition. The process heats the body at exactly 150 degrees Celsius in potassium hydroxide and water for up to 90 minutes, then rinse, dries, and pulverizes bones, emitting 7 times less CO2 than a typical cremation's 320 kilogram footprint. The Scottish Government expects the first procedures this summer, once planning permissions, consents, and Scottish water approval are secured. Public Health Minister Jenny Minto said the process respects personal choices and regulatory standards. Well, Kindly Earth holds exclusive UK manufacturing rights already established abroad. The method operates across 30 American states, Canada, and South Africa, with Europe's first resumation centre opening in Navan Comith in early 2023. And funeral directors say some clients have added it to their plans. Okay, so again, I never knew that water cremations are a thing, or that was even prohibited by the UK in the first place. 120 years since prohibition by the UK. That is an achievement, if people call that an achievement. It is a landmark in history that for more than a century, water cremation wasn't even allowed. And now Scotland is allowing it, or in the process of allowing it to happen. And if it means less CO2, yeah, well played. I can see why Scotland would want something like this to be approved. If it means there's less environmental damage to the climate, then of course it just makes so much sense. Best of luck to Scotland, and to all a merry something. Not sure what. Hopefully it is merry. Just something that came to my organs. Prehistoric skeleton discovered in flooded cave along Mexico's Caribbean coast. Well, okay then. Cave diving archaeologist Octavio Del Rio and colleagues recovered a prehistoric human skeleton in late 2025 from a flooded cave and system in Actun near Tulum, Mexico, now under analysis. Because of the cave's depth and distance, experts date the burial to at least 8,000 years ago, as the interior chamber was dry when the body was placed there, and the skeleton rested on a sediment dune, suggesting an intentional funerary deposit found about 26 feet, 8 meters below the surface. The skeleton required a 656-foot, 200-meter swim through the flooded cave, accessible only to expert cave divers with specialized equipment. Authorities and archaeologists are pressing to designate the cave zone as a national protected area, with the Environment Ministry aiming for that in 2026. INAH officials argue it should be protected for its cultural heritage. Amid Maya train construction, experts warn the caves have been severely impacted, with jungle cleared and support columns driven into the region's hundreds of miles of underwater rivers and cave systems. That's fun. Going to see how this goes. I don't have anything to say on the story, or anything for hot topic discussions. Discoveries are going to be happening every month or two, maybe twice a month at most. And if the authorities are wanting to designate the area of the cave as protected, or maybe encourage tourism around the caves, that's another route of revenue for the Mexican government, or at least local communities surrounding that cave. Someone's going to be making a lot of money if they can manage to tourize that area, or make this area a hot tourist spot for out of all the other tourist spots in Mexico. How they go ahead with it's just as challenging as how people got the body out of the caves to begin with. Expert cave divers were the only ones that could access the cave where the body was buried, hundreds of meters deep, or at least hundreds of feet deep. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. Tourist spots, a couple challenges. Otherwise, once executed smoothly and effectively and efficiently, the local area surrounding that cave, they're going to make a lot of bank. They'll be making loads of money out of that tourism sector. But of course, over tourism is a big problem on its own. So even if there's potential for tourism, you've got to be cautious about how much tourism is allowed around the area. To the point, it preserves the beauty of the cave or surrounding areas and ensures there isn't any likely damage to the surrounding areas. Not that tourists want to damage it intentionally, the upkeeping to make sure it looks pretty for the tourists to take their Instagram photos and whatnot. Again, that's just me. I'm always thinking too much. More than I should. So yeah, that's me. Apple just dropped the next-gen Studio Display and Studio Display XDR. Here's what's new. On March 3rd, 2026, Apple announced the next generation Studio Display and Studio Display XDR, with pre-order starting Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, and availability from March 11th, 2026. Apple replaced the Pro Display XDR with the Studio Display XDR, and unified its external monitors under the Studio Display brand for creative professionals. Both models feature a 12-megapixel center stage camera with desk view, a 3 microphone array, and 6-speaker spatial audio system, plus Thunderbolt 5 ports, a 1-meter Thunderbolt 5 Pro cable, and daisy chain capability for up to 4 displays. Priced at the entry level, Studio Display remains $1,599, while the Studio Display XDR starts at $3,299, with the tilt and height adjustable stand rises to $3,599 with texture glass. With Pro HDR and medical features, the Studio Display XDR offers ProMotion, 120Hz, thousands of local dimming zones, 2000 nits peak HDR brightness, and a Mac OS medical imaging calibrator pending FDA clearance for radiologists. $3,599 for what is presumably a VR headset. I don't know what it is exactly. $3,500. What kind of daylight robbery is this? Who on earth would be willing to pay that much money for any electronic device or product? Boy, surely if there was any product similar to Studio Display that is just as advanced and has many good capabilities as Studio Display with a significantly lower price, there's going to be a handful of people that wouldn't want to buy that particular electronic device or product. Well, the majority would still buy the Studio Display because the name associated with Apple is what really sells it, like with many Apple products. And even though I'm using Apple products myself, there's something about Apple that just draws you in. The fear of missing out, the ecosystem that Apple surrounds itself with. Apple products will only work with other Apple products. That is a very effective marketing tool. So back to the story about Studio Display. The $3,600 at most. Who would buy that? Heck, who even has the money for that? There is no way. Maybe a yes way to some extent. Most of the time, no way. No way most of the time. Cher's son, Elijah Blue Allman, charged after disturbance at New Hampshire private school. Police arrested Elijah Blue Allman, 49, at St. Paul's School in Concord on Friday after causing a disturbance in the dining hall, charging him with 4 misdemeanors. School officials said Allman has no known association with St. Paul's School, and officers respond shortly before 7 p.m. After reports of a disturbance in the dining hall. He was arrested Sunday in Windham after an alleged break-in on Ministerial Road, where a woman called 911 while hiding in a closet. Officers found shattered glass in Allman, and Allman sitting on the couch smoking a cigarette. He is scheduled to appear for arraignment in Concord District Court on April 20th after being processed and released on a personal recognizance bond at Merrimack County Jail. A judge denied Cher's 2023 conservatorship petition for Allman, who was hospitalized after a June 2025 overdose and owns a Malibu home valued at $16 million. It starts to add up to some extent. And I'm not talking about the 2023 conservatorship that Cher was asking to happen with Allman. So, haven't seen this story, how Allman, seeing what Allman has done at the time, where he was, nearby which place, this story alone, I'm not saying it should happen, this story alone just proves, this would only further prove why Cher asked for that conservatorship for Allman in the first place. So if Cher wants to apply or wants to put forward the conservatorship again and brings up this story or this event that just happened, I find it baffling how a judge could deny the conservatorship even with this story as evidence put in place. Now, of course, you can't always just say it happened one time. That's not enough. Fair enough on the judge's part. If this is not the only time Elijah Blue Allman has actually done this, bring those events as evidence as well. then whoever's the judge approving this conservatorship, there is no way that conservatorship application could ever be denied. There's no way. Of course, these days, court cases, although people think, oh, it's simple, he's the good, he's the bad, or she's the good, or she's the bad. They did something wrong. You are guilty. They're sent to prison or whatnot. No, it's not that simple. Every story has its complexities, and even when people try to get an understanding and have their thoughts on what goes on, there is more to what's been said. So be careful. You never know. And even when there is even when there's information that shouldn't go unnoticed, or there is information that surely people can witness with their own eyes. It's so obvious, there's no way of denying it. And even when it is straightforward that, okay, you've done this, so you should get that punishment. Could be more. Not that there is more to court cases somewhere in the world. There is more to than what meets the eye, or what is presented so plainly in sight. There could be hidden details that could make a difference. And even though this story which I just read seems like this is done and dusted, no, this is still. I see this as being I see this as a story that is still being developed. Which he is yet to be given a court date, or at least an appearance in court to appear in court. So we'll have to. For anyone that is wondering what's going to happen next, is he going to get punished? Is he going to do community service? Is he going to be under the conservatorship by Cher, her mother? Who knows? You just gotta wait and see. Anything is possible, just like how the representative for this year's Eurovision for their national selections have been made possible. Even people think, oh, this artist is gonna win, but no, the artist you never think would ever get close to top 3 apparently won. Anyway, I'm going off topic, but that is still a valid point that even when you think something is guaranteed to happen, the unexpected is just more so, if ever, possible. You're never gonna know until that happens. You can't just say, oh, this is gonna be the punishment for that person. No, they could get anyone could get a completely different punishment to what the punishment they would have been given the offense they had committed. It is possible. It just comes down to the small details that would otherwise tell the court case or the people in the court, now this changes everything. Not a lot, but it does change how I see the case to some extent. $25 million donation to establish new model for tackling homelessness in Toronto. On March 3rd, 2026, the Slate Family Foundation announced a $25 million donation to fund the creation of a housing lab supporting research at St. Michael's Hospital's MAP Centre and United Way Greater Toronto. Worsening homelessness in Ontario, with a 2025 report estimating 85,000 people without a home, up 7.8% from the previous year. Using a housing first model, the lab will draw on MAP Centre research, working with the City of Toronto to find supportive housing and offer pre-move case management to secure IDs and tax standing. The lab aims to house 3,000. No, not 3,000. The lab aims to house 300 people over 5 years, which Huang called a step toward ending chronic homelessness. He says it could ease pressure on Toronto's health system by targeting frequent emergency department users. Pairing hospital research with United Way Greater Toronto, the lab aims to be a long-term, replicable model for municipalities across Canada, backers say. You know what? Having read all that, in my opinion, that makes a lot of sense. If there are people that are going to the hospital ever so often, who are also happen to be homeless, in my opinion, it makes so much sense that you would prioritize the most high maintenance, healthcare intensive homeless people to be given a home, and then have an out of the homes designated for homeless people to be nearby health facilities. Now, I'm not too certain if this is credit for the Toronto authorities, the Ontario Legislative Assembly, or something that the Canadian federal government has done. Either way, this is a great move. And whilst there will people say that people are homeless because they're not smart with their money, I will say that is true to most. Even then, do what Finland does. Make sure that everyone has a home, regardless of how much they know about money, how much drugs they're using, which I can't lie. I'm not saying all homeless people are on drugs of some sort. It's also not surprising that people would use whatever money they have to get the drugs to be on something. Regardless, whatever the homeless people are going through, they should be able to be given a home. It doesn't have to be too much. Just a comfortable bed, air conditioning, heating, access to amenities and facilities. I don't see why not. And what's going on in Greater Manchester, where I'm from? There are new homes being built for homeless people within the city centre, which, not bad, it's pretty good actually. Of course, I know if risk is on here, you will say that, why are we catering to homeless people? Stop incentivizing homelessness. Get them back in the job market. Something. I'm not sure what Risk's exact words would be. I know he would say we shouldn't be incentivizing homelessness. And I agree. Shouldn't encourage people to be in rough conditions, trying to get people to give them money. It's important. Whatever the circumstance, we help out to the best of our ability. Even a little bit makes a difference. And something I would say, from my experience, even if there are people, or if you are someone that do want to help out the homeless, I'd say it's important that you get to know the homeless people themselves. Don't just support the homeless people just because you feel sorry for the state in their lives they're in. It is important to understand what their life story is, how they got to where they are today, and if they were given whatever money that people are willing to donate to these homeless people, what do they use that money for? It's important to have a connection with the homeless people and understand at what point in their lives do they want to be in, out of the current state they're in right now. Again, there could be those that are wanting to use whatever they have to get whatever substances they want to be on for whatever reason that is for their own recreational purposes. Perhaps there are homeless people that are trying to get back on their feet, back in the jobs market. Whatever the case, as much as it's important to help those in need, it is also just as important to understand their life story. Where do they want to be, as opposed to where they are right now, and understanding what needs do people as a whole, everyone in local communities need right now to get by. Those are very important. And that is it for this episode.